Apologies do not reset systems. They acknowledge disruption. They do not remove it. This distinction explains why sincere apologies often fail to repair outcomes. The failure is not moral, it is structural. An apology operates at the level of intent. Systems operate at the level of constraint. When harm occurs, something changes inside the system. Trust thresholds shift. Expectations adjust. Risk calculations update. These changes persist independently of explanation. An apology can clarify motive. It cannot restore prior conditions. This is the core misunderstanding. People assume repair works like a reset, as if acknowledgement rewinds state. As if sincerity restores baseline. Systems do not rewind, they accumulate. Every system carries memory. Not emotional memory, structural memory. Once a boundary is crossed, the system records it, not as a story, as a constraint. Before the disruption, certain behaviors were allowed without scrutiny. After disruption, the same behaviors are filtered differently. This filtering does not require resentment. It does not require blame. It is automatic. The system is protecting itself. Apologies arrive after the constraint has already formed. This timing matters. When disruption occurs, the system reacts immediately. Distance appears, caution increases, flexibility narrows. These reactions are not choices, they are stabilizing responses. By the time an apology is offered, the system has already adapted. Adaptation is not reversed by explanation. This is why apologies often feel insufficient even when accepted. Acceptance is not restoration. The system may acknowledge the apology. It may validate intent. It may even express forgiveness, and still remain altered, because the alteration did not occur at the level of belief. It occurred at the level of structure. Trust is not a feeling. It is a permission set. Once permissions are revoked, they do not automatically return. An apology explains why the violation happened. It does not remove the reason permissions were revoked. This creates confusion. The person apologizing believes repair should follow acknowledgement. The system does not agree. From the system's perspective, the apology is new information. The constraint is not. The constraint was formed earlier, under different conditions, with higher leverage. This asymmetry explains the common experience of apologizing and sensing distance remain. The apology did not fail. It addressed the wrong layer. Systems respond to configuration, not confession. Once configuration changes, behavior must change to match it. Words alone cannot do that. This applies across domains. In relationships, apologies often arrive after patterns have stabilized. Repeated disappointment, repeated boundary crossing, repeated repair attempts. Each repetition thickens the constraint. By the time the apology becomes serious, the system has already shifted to protection mode. Protection mode does not negotiate. It reduces exposure. It limits vulnerability. It narrows engagement. These adjustments are subtle. They do not announce themselves, but they are decisive. The relationship continues. Interaction persists, but range is reduced. This is why people say things never felt the same afterward. They are correct. The system is not punishing. It is adapting. Apologies are often treated as repair tools. They are not. They are acknowledgments of breach. Acknowledgement does not equal reversal. Reversal would require removing the constraint that formed. Constraints do not dissolve through explanation. They dissolve only when the conditions that created them are no longer present over time. Time is the missing variable. Apologies attempt to compress time into a moment. Systems do not allow this. Constraint decay is slow. Because constraint exists to prevent recurrence, immediate removal would defeat its function. This is why systems resist resetting. Resetting increases risk. Once risk is revealed, systems prioritize prevention over restoration. This priority is not emotional. It is functional. Apologies often fail because they arrive too late to influence structure. Early in a system, before constraints harden, acknowledgement can redirect trajectory. Later, acknowledgement becomes symbolic. Symbolic actions do not change constraints. They coexist with them. This creates a second misunderstanding. People assume that because an apology was sincere, repair should follow. Sincerity does not govern structure. Structure governs outcome. This is visible in work systems. An error occurs. An apology is issued. The system updates procedures. Trust in the individual role changes. Oversight increases. Autonomy decreases. The apology may be accepted. The controls remain. Not because the apology was doubted, because the system learned something. Learning is irreversible. Once learned, it cannot be unlearned. Apologies do not erase learning. They confirm it. This is why repeated apologies often make things worse. Each repetition repetition reinforces the same lesson. The system hears, "This pattern can recur," so the constraint tightens, not out of hostility, out of logic. The system is reducing exposure. This applies to status systems as well. A public misstep occurs, an apology follows. Reputation does not fully recover. The apology clarifies intent. The status system adjusts risk. Access narrows. Opportunities shift. The words did not fail. They were irrelevant to the constraint. Status systems are especially resistant to reset because they trade on predictability. Once unpredictability is introduced, the system compensates. Compensation persists. This reveals a key structural principle. Apologies operate upstream of feeling. Constraints operate downstream of outcome. Once an outcome occurs, downstream changes persist. Upstream signals cannot reverse downstream adaptations. This is the structural contrast. In systems where constraints have not yet formed, acknowledgement can redirect behavior. In systems where constraints are established, acknowledgement only explains the past. When structure changes, effort appears to work. This sentence is often misunderstood. Here, structure did change. Effort arrived afterward. Effort did not fail. It arrived too late. This explains why apologies are often followed by requests for proof, changed behavior, consistency, time. These requests are not punishments. They are signals that structure has shifted. The system now requires evidence, not explanation. Evidence operates over time. Apologies operate in moments. Moments cannot compete with duration. This does not mean apologies are useless. They serve a different function. They close loops. They clarify narrative. They reduce ambiguity. They do not restore access. Access is governed by constraint. Once access is limited, restoration requires sustained exposure without recurrence. This requirement is structural, not personal. People often interpret this as unfairness or coldness or withholding. The system interprets it as risk management. This mismatch creates frustration. The apologizing party feels trapped. They did everything required emotionally. The outcome did not change. The explanation lies here. Emotional completion does not equal structural completion. Structural completion requires reconfiguration. Reconfiguration cannot be instantaneous. It must outlast the memory that produced the constraint. Memory fades slowly, because forgetting increases risk. Systems prefer remembering. This preference explains why apologies do not reset systems. They were never designed to. They are acknowledgments, not erasers. This is the structural shock. Understanding it reframes many failed repairs. The apology did not fail because it lacked sincerity. It failed because sincerity is not a lever. The lever was already removed. Within this structure, no apology can restore a system to a previous state once constraints have formed. The system did not reject the apology. It moved on from the conditions the apology was meant to restore.